Buy this, not that. You're probably wasting money on whiskey, not because you're buying bad bottles, but because at the shop when you're there looking at the shelf, I think there are probably better bottles sitting there that are often better value, taste better, and might save you hundreds of dollars. So in this video, I'm going to tell you the 5 bottles to skip and 5 you should buy instead. But more importantly, I'm going to show you the exact system I use to find underrated whiskeys so that you're not going to waste money on overhyped whiskey again. So if that interests you, get comfy, come on in, and let's start with the most obvious one. Swap number 1, you need to stop buying the Johnny Walker Blue Label. In my market, it's like $250. The thing is, look, it's not bad whiskey. It's smooth, it's approachable, prestigious. You know, it's sort of the bottle you buy to impress someone. For me, I always think of it as a beginner whiskey for rich people. And for how much you're paying for this, I just think there's so many better whiskeys than this one. But how do we find a good alternative to this? That's why I actually made my own spectrum diagram. I put 100 of my favorite whiskeys, did it in a style of a old 1600s like explorer map. And that's what that is. So on this you have like rich and spiced whiskeys on that side, fruit and floral on that side, peaty on that side, unpeated down here. For Johnny Walker Blue, what's good about it is it's a very balanced whiskey. So right here we have the balanced bout. So what is a whiskey in the balanced bouts that I think would be a great alternative? Something that's also like prestigious, will make a good gift. Well, I think the ultimate, and I have to agree with my good friend G Whiskey, who did basically the same video as this. Sorry mate, doing the same video. I do have to agree with you, but I also kind of disagree. And it's going to be the Glenmorangie Signet. I had someone contact me recently, they were having their 60th, and they had a big budget to spend. And they were also thinking Johnny Walker Blue, and this was the first one that came to mind. Beautiful box, beautiful bottle, and absolutely amazing. 46%, just an absolute, elegant, prestigious whiskey. I will say in recent times, the price of this has been going up, but I just think in terms of presentation, look, if you have no budget, this is what you go for. If you are a bit more restricted on budget, but you want to get a whiskey that just tastes a lot better and is also going to be in that sort of like balanced category of whiskey. A couple of years ago, my whiskey of the year, or maybe 3 years ago, my whiskey of the year was this one, the Belvedere 15. And I just think this is such a good example of a really well balanced whiskey. It's ex-bourbon casks and ex-sherry casks blended together, and it's just like a classic Scotch. This one's 46% natural color, non-chill filtered. And look, if I was at a bar and someone said to me, look, I want to buy your dram, Johnny Walker Blue or the Belvedere 15, I'll be saying, pull me the Belvedere 15. But actually, I think there's a whiskey also in the balanced area that's even better value than the Belvedere 15 that I think is much more of a perma-shelf whiskey. Like if I want a whiskey that's going to be like the Johnny Walker Blue, I'm going to buy again and again and again for only like $96 New Zealand. I'll tell you about that. But before I get that, let's go around the map. Let's go to the extremes. Let's try sherry casks, smoky whiskies, light and fruity. But first, let's talk about the more elegant, rich sherry bomb. And this swap is definitely going to upset some people. Okay, so now we're getting to the southwest part of the map. These are your kind of rich and round and spiced whiskeys. Think dried fruits, spice, nutty notes, and they get that way from being aged in sherry-soaked wood. If you don't know what sherry casks are, I did a whole video on it. And so both of these are right in that lane. So they're not smoky, but they're very elegant, very beautiful whiskeys, I would say. So there's 2 whiskeys. One's like a third cheaper than the other one. And you can probably guess which one I actually like drinking more. Okay, so the whiskey I think you shouldn't buy anymore is the Macallan 12. Look, this is just one of the absolute classics. Everyone knows about it. It's got one of the biggest brand names. It's the one you see in James Bond movies. And the one I'm talking about is the 12, like sherry oak one. Very rich, very elegant. But I can save a lot more money if I get this instead, the Tamdhu 12. So rather than 40%, 43%. Also aged exclusively in sherry casks, and it's a very beautiful whiskey. Comes in a great bottle. I think Macallan often gets bought as gifts, and I think Tamdhu does all of that, if not better. And of the 2, this is my pick, and I can get it for a lot cheaper. This next whiskey will save you the most money out of any of them. Quick shout out to 2 whiskey tasting tools that I think you might need. One being the Flavour tree, helps you find the flavors in your glass. Over 500 of you now have it, and you're hanging it up all over the world, and Even like bars and restaurants have it now, and helps you find flavor notes. There's a dark, there's a light version, and it also comes in these packs of 10 cards that you can take to your next tasting, or the new whiskey flavor map. So yeah, go check that out. It's down in the description as well. But also, a lot of you don't hit like and subscribe. Go do that. Helps this video get out. It's free. And yeah, back to the video. This one's a good one. We're going to the northwest. With this, it's unpeated, but very, very smoky. And let's go right to the top. I feel like after I owned one bottle, I kind of got it out of my system and I was like, okay, cool. I got it. I don't need to spend $300 or $400 on it again. Look, it's good, but it's kind of feels like it's sort of a novel thing. I just think for the money now, I'm going to go for this other one. So what is it? It is going to be the Octomore. This is a fantastic whiskey. I've talked about it lots on my channel, but it comes with a hefty price tag. My one is the X.1. There's like different types of Octomores. I think the 0.1s are like the ex-bourbon cask ones, I think. So it kind of does fit in that top corner, but there are some Octomores that might come over more to the east. Oh man. It is good whiskey. It has a really nice cheesy bacon note. It's just kind of a budget thing though. If I want a whiskey that is as smoky as I can get, kind of like a cigar punching you in the face. And I think this whiskey, it's cask strength, it's got that sort of like burning hospital vibes. I think this is it. And it's going to be the Laphroaig 10 cask strength. Look, if I just want to give someone kind of a smoke bomb and they're coming around and we don't want to do sherry cask, we just want to do ex-bourbon cask, pure smoke and salt and seaweed, I think this is it. They are two very different peated whiskies. This one's much more in your seaweed iodine, whereas your Octomore is like your cheesy bacon breadstick. I feel like I've just like walked into a forest on fire, like a wildfire. It's just like full on. I would say actually, to be honest, I probably still prefer this Octomore. Another sort of 10%, not by 100%, which is kind of how much more you're paying for the bottles. And in New Zealand, like I can save $200 getting the Laphroaig 10 cask strength, which is an absolute bomb. Still a great whiskey. What if you don't want a subtle whiskey? You want to go all out. You want to go full smoke and full sherry. Well, on the map, that's actually what's in the northeast. These are your sherry bombs meet the peat monsters. If you're to think of one whiskey which is kind of the quintessential peat meets sherry, I think most people will tell you this. It would be the Ardbeg Uigeadail. So this is just an absolute classic. It's many people's favorite whiskies. But a lot of people do say that in recent years, the Ardbeg Uigeadail isn't as good as it once was, and that in some markets, the price is, again, pretty expensive. I still really like the Ardbeg Uigeadail, but there are some other options now out there. In my market, quite a similar whiskey, which is both super smoky and super sherry, is the Kilchoman Lochgorm. I've talked about this before on my channel. I absolutely love that bottle. I don't currently have one in stock, but there is another whiskey at the moment that I can get for a lot cheaper. It's very smoky, it's heavy, it's big, it's also sherried, but it's not from Islay. So I think you should buy the Lag Corrycravy. Is that how I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. So this is also 55%. So the Ardbeg Uigeadail, my one is 54.2. So you got more ABV in my version of the Lag. Very heavy on the sherry casks. It's very smoky, and it kind of achieves the same thing. But this next whiskey on the list might be the most important. Now, before I get to the final whiskey, which I think over the course of your whiskey journey will probably save you the most money overall, I'm going to go into the southwest corner. This is the opposite to what we've just had, the sherry kind of peat bombs. This is like your light and delicate. On the map, the way it's been designed, it's kind of like, think the Shire, think Cotswolds, or like Burgundy villages. The designer did a great job, by the way. I didn't want to pay II for designing this poster. Pretty much 95% of whiskies I've talked about on this channel are on that poster. So the next whiskey I think is actually, I mean, it can kind of be a few. I think it's either the sort of the Glenlivet 12 or the Glenfiddich 12. These are great whiskies, great for beginners, but I think as you go into your whiskey journey, I'm not buying a lot of these days. There are some really good like different versions of Glenlivet. I mean, if Glenlivet, if you're watching this, please bring back the illicit still and the like licensed dram. In my old videos for like best value whiskey, it was #1. It was so good. That was such a good whiskey. I wish they'd bring that back. But anyway, side note, the Glenlivet 12, the Glenfiddich 12 are great sort of intro whiskeys. I still like them. I recommend them to a lot of people. This is light, it's fruity, it's pears, it's ex-bourbon cask, it's orchard fruit. But as you're going down your journey, you start to want to collect whiskies that are becoming your perma-shelf whiskies. I think there's a whiskey that's a lot better for around the same price. The one I really like to tell people about is the Glencadam 10. This is just light, it's fruity, it's also just so complex and so tasty. If you can't get it like me, maybe Deanston 12 could be a good alternative, maybe Arran 10. In that balanced category, compared to the Johnnie Walker Blue, even like the Belvedere 15, there is kind of some other whiskies which are a lot cheaper. I think a lot of people when they first buy whiskies, so the one they like to buy is the Belvedere 12. And look, it's fine, it's 40%. It can be a little pricey. What's good about it is it has this really nice blend between like ex-bourbon casks and ex-sherry casks. I used to absolutely love it, but I feel like in recent years it doesn't taste as good. I don't know if that's just me, but I feel like the recent releases I've not really enjoyed. There is a whiskey though, if you're going for that balanced, in between your sherry and your ex-bourbon casks, in the middle part, I can get for a lot cheaper. I like it so much more. And it's going to be the Glenglasser 12. So rather than being 40%, this is 45%. And it's just a really good balanced whiskey between your sherry cask, between your ex-bourbon casks, between the orchard fruit and the dried fruit. Almost kind of what Johnnie Walker is. So if you like want the Johnnie Walker Blue on a budget, why would you buy the Johnnie Walker Red or other Johnnie Walkers when you can get this? I buy this more than I'd buy the Signet. I'd buy the Blue Label. It is just such a good go-to when I want a nice balanced Scotch single malt. The fruit, oh, it's nice. It's very malty. You got a lot of those dried fruits coming through, a little bit of raisin, but also you got the pears and the apple. It's just, yeah, it's a great dram. But I'd love to hear from you. What are the whiskies that you would swap from the ones I mentioned? But above all, explore, share, and enjoy.